Yo, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be talking about the Bengals and big upcoming matchup this weekend with the Las Vegas Raiders, about to say the Oakland Raiders, in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Bengals have not won a playoff game in 30 years. Raiders have not won a playoff game in 20 years. The Bengals loss that started the playoff drought was against the Raiders, the curse of Bo. Will the Bengals be able to finally break that curse this Saturday afternoon against the Raiders? I'll get to that later on in the video. Stay tuned. But first things first, quick reflection just on the regular season. I mean, what a season it was from the Bengals. I mean, coming into this season, I predicted the Bengals would win no less. Like, I figured 6 or 7 games was the floor. I felt like you had to at least get to that, but I thought 9 was kind of the ceiling. I was thinking somewhere, like, I would have been satisfied with 7 and 10, but going 10-7, winning the division, there was a part of me that always knew if everything went to plan, if everybody developed the way they needed to be, everybody played at their potential, this could happen, but I didn't necessarily expect it. But you know, now it's January, and look what happened. I mean, this team proved pretty much everybody wrong. I mean, it was the crazy people who said this team would go 3-14 or 4-13. But even the people like me who are Bengals fans who, you know, just figured 7-8 wins, you know, we'd be satisfied with a season like that. But no, they went out, made the playoffs, won the division. What a year by Joe Burrow. What a rookie season by Jamar Chase. Just phenomenal season by both those two guys, both breaking records. I mean, Jamar Chase breaking the single season franchise record in his rookie season is just absolutely insane to me. But moving on to the playoffs, the Bengals will be playing the Las Vegas Raiders in the first round. And these teams have played earlier this season, a game in which the Bengals won on the road in Vegas, 32-13, a game that started off very slow. It was very low scoring at halftime, teams just trading field goals. But then in the second half, the Bengals really started to wear the Raiders down. Joe Mixon had a big game, and that led to the Bengals eventually pulling away, winning 32-13. And that game, it wasn't the explosive offensive passing performance that we've seen the last couple of weeks with the Bengals. It was a game where they really just had to grind it out and let the game open up towards the end. Joe Mixon was key, and I think he's going to have to play that same kind of role for the Bengals to win this game this Saturday. If you look at the Raiders, especially defensively, they have one of the best pass rushes in the league. Max Crosby is a problem. I mean, we saw against the Chargers how much he affected Justin Herbert and affected that game, and the Bengals now missing Riley Reef, who played in that game. I would expect him to have probably that same kind of impact on the Bengals. So it's going to be tough for Joe Burrow to just sit in the pocket and, you know, just air it out like he has in other games. But I think if you get Joe Mixon going, get the run game going, it can keep the Raiders on their toes defensively, which would allow for the game to open up later on. But it's also going to come down to the defense for the Bengals. The Bengals did a good job the first time they played, slowing down a Raiders offense that has weapons and can be very good. Derek Carr is one of those guys. He's not always the most consistent, but I mean, look at this season. He threw for almost 5,000 yards. He's got some good weapons. Darren Waller, I think, is going to be the biggest matchup problem for the Bengals. I mean, he's a matchup problem for anybody. A tight end who's athletic and can run like that. I want to say he had his season high in yards, receiving yards against the Bengals. So he's going to be a problem. It's going to be tough to stop. Obviously, they also have Hunter Renfrow, one of the best just route runners in the NFL. But I feel like the Bengals secondary, especially Chidobe Awuzie, I'm pretty confident in his ability to at least slow down the Raiders on the outside with Renfrow, with Zay Jones. So that's going to be another interesting matchup to watch for. But the biggest thing defensively for the Bengals is just slowing down Darren Waller as much as possible. Jesse Bates and the linebackers, Jesse Bates, Logan Wilson, Von Bell, are all going to be part of slowing down Darren Waller and keeping him from having the kind of, like, if you look at what Mark Andrews did, even though the Ravens lost to the Bengals, what Mark Andrews was able to do against the Bengals, I mean, he was a problem the last time they played, and the Bengals have struggled guarding really good and athletic tight ends. You saw what Kittle did when the played the 49ers. You saw what Mark Andrews did. They did a better job at slowing down Travis Kelce, so they're going to have to do those same kind of things against Darren Waller if they're going to be successful on defense. On offense, like I touched on earlier, the pass blocking Max Crosby is number one. 2, get the ground game going. If you can just wear them down, get Joe Mixon going. Joe Mixon ran for something like 150 yards last time they played. If they can just get 100 yards out of Joe Mixon in this game, I'm very confident the Bengals are going to win. It's going to be cold. It's supposed to be like 20-25 degrees in Cincinnati for this game, so it might not be a game, especially if it's windy too, where you're airing the ball out a lot. So I think the Bengals have that advantage in a game where both teams are going to have to grind it out. We saw what Joe Mixon did before. We're going to have to do that again. Obviously, talking about playmakers on the outside, the Bengals might have some of the best playmakers in the NFL. Looking at Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, if the game does open up, I do think this game definitely favors the Bengals just because hardly anybody has shown that they've been able to slow down Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd when all of those guys get going. So with these things considered, kind of getting into my analysis, my thoughts, and my prediction on this game, it's tough for me to predict. As a Bengals fan, it feels like every time they make the playoffs, this will be the year they finally break the curse, they finally get it done. But it also always seems like every year something happens, whether it's in the game, whether it's leading up to the game, that just kind of hinders the Bengals. Whether it's 2015 when Andy Dalton hurt his thumb a couple weeks before the playoff game and missed the playoffs, or 2005 when early in the game Carson Palmer tears his ACL. So coming into this game, the game definitely favors the Bengals, and I think they win the matchup that I was talking about. They block, they control the game on the ground. I think this favors the Bengals, and I think this year, actually, as long as nothing crazy happens like in years prior, I think this is the year that the Bengals do it. Now, obviously, this is the NFL. You never really know, especially in a playoff atmosphere. The atmosphere should be great as well. Bengals have not been to the playoffs since 2015, so it's going to be a huge day for the city of Cincinnati, for the Bengals fans. I can only imagine what the atmosphere was like. I mean, the atmosphere was great when I went to the game against the Ravens, which is a regular season game. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like playing in the playoffs. And also, another factor in this, a lot of people will talk about the Bengals' young core and inexperience and how that might play a factor in a playoff game, in a playoff scenario like this, but I don't think that's the case because Joe Burrow made this comment earlier this week when he was talking to the media. They asked him about that, and they asked him if his experience playing in the college football playoff got him prepared for this moment. And he said, you can say that plays a part, but the reality of it is the Bengals have played. The last 3-4 games have been playoff games, so this is really no different. Those games were have-to-have-it games, and I think that's very true, and the Bengals just showed that wasn't something that fazed them. And you just look at the kind of character Joe Burrow is. He is the type of guy that's going to step up in big moments. That's when he plays his best football. You saw what he did against the Ravens. You saw what he did against the Chiefs. So I truly think this is the year that the Bengals finally get it done. I never speak in absolutes and say, they're going to win when it comes to a football game, especially in the NFL. But I'm picking the Bengals. I think it's going to be a close game. I say lower scoring as well. I'm going to say Bengals win it 23-20. So with that being said, that is my thoughts, that is my analysis, that's my prediction on this game. I'll be watching it. I cannot wait. I've been counting down the days all week getting ready for this game. But let me know in the comments below. Let me know what y'all think of this game. Let me know who y'all think is going to pull it out, and let me know just the rest of the playoffs too. What y'all think is going to happen. So with that being said, thank y'all so much for watching, and until next time, Godspeed.